Welcome back to the channel, guys. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to install Trex decking. And if you're new to this channel, my name's Josh. This channel is all about building your own house, saving a ton of money. So be sure to subscribe if you're into that and smash that like button if you find value in this video. So the first thing we got to do is chalk a line because we want that first piece of Trex nice and straight. So let's get to it. Trex is 5.5 inches wide, so I want a 1/2 inch overhang. So what I did, I went to the far end of the deck here, pulled over 5 inches, put a nail, hooked my chalk line to it, came over here, marked 5 inches, and now I'm going to pull the chalk line really tight and snap a line so that way it gives me a 1/2 inch overhang. All right, so this is the first piece that we're going to be starting with. This is the square edge Trex. You don't want to use the grooved edge for the first piece because you need to be able to have a flat surface here instead of that groove showing. That doesn't look good. So first thing we do, we had to cut each end, not this end because it's butting the house, didn't really matter, but the far end of this board. Make sure you cut it square first because these boards do not come square, just so you know. Okay, so now I'm just going to line it up on my chalk line I made, and I got about a 1/4 inch gap here from the house because you don't want to butt it tight, and that looks good. And now I just take an 1/8 inch bit, stay about 3/4 inch from the edge here or so. And we're going to pre-drill a hole here. And then over here. All right, so that looks good. And now I got these deck screws that are made for composite decking. And if you need to know how to build a deck like this, go ahead and check out the link above. It'll show you how to build this exact deck. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and tack a screw here, and these screws, like I said, are meant for composite, and you just want to countersink it flush with the top of the decking board. All right, now that we got our first one started, all you got to do is line the board up with the chalk line that we made and then put 2 screws in each joist. Let's get to it. All right, so I already installed the next board that goes up against the one we started, and I wanted to show you that you need to leave a really fine gap here, about an 1/8 inch. And I just got a random piece of metal here, and so before I butted this one up to this, I went ahead and put this in between, put it tight, and then put 2 screws here. So now our starter board is done, and now we got to put brackets to get ready for the grooved boards. So the easiest way I found to install these first brackets that go on, just go ahead and get a shim that's the same thickness of the gap that you're going to need. Go ahead and place the bracket right up against it. Take a little 1/8 inch drill bit and just so you can start the screw. Okay, and then place your screw in that hole and then drive it tight. All right, now it's spaced out a perfect 1/4 inch and all these are ready to go. Now our next board, you just slide right up into it and that groove catches it. And then we can continue using our regular bits or screws. And that's going to be the ones we use after this. So you cannot use these to begin with because there's no groove in this starter piece for this to go into. You got to use these brackets. Okay, so as you can see, I got the brackets on every joist going across here. And now it's time to install this one. And now this one, you want to make sure you cut so that way you have a square edge because these do not come square out of the factory. Then you simply just slide it into these brackets and then make sure you push the board so it's square against the other board. Okay, and then come back over to this one and make sure you got just a thin gap here between the 2 joints. So something about like that looks really good. And now all you got to do is push your board tight into this bracket and then take this fastener, slide it into the groove and tighten it down. All right, so it should go a little something like this. We have it slid into those brackets. I'm going to push with my leg here and take this fastener, slide it into the groove. Make sure you're really tight. That looks good. Here we go. And now come to your next one and do the same thing, going clear across the whole board. All right, so after you get those brackets on, I'm going to show you the system I found that works best for me. I went ahead and cut these two boards, and I have them spaced 1/4 inch from the house on each side, and I'm out here at the joint, and the joint looks like what we want. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and place this board into the slots. I'm going to show you the best way to set the hidden fastener. All right, so after you have this board slid into the existing brackets that you have holding, just take a hammer, and this where you gotta be real careful. Don't smack the board really hard, just get a slight peck. Just barely tap it, it should slide right into those fasteners. Again, don't hit it hard, very easy, because you will damage that board's edge. All right, so I got that tacked into place. So once you have this tapped in tight to the other bracket, go ahead and get a hidden fastener and place it into the slot here, and go ahead and snug it down. Do not tighten these brackets down when you go to hold it. So you want to snug it down. Go ahead and do about 2 or 3 in a section. Again, after a trial and error, I found out for this to be the best way to go about this, especially when you're working by yourself. Again, don't tighten these down yet. Just snug them up. All right, and after you got a section of them done, in this case it's 3, now you tighten the ones back behind here snug. Well, more than snug, tight. As if it was going to be there forever. All right, so now this section here is in place and it's going to stay there forever. All right, just to recap, these are the 3 I just put in, and I went ahead and put these in. You can still almost wiggle these a little bit because you don't want those too tight, because the next board slides into here, it's going to be hard to line up right. And you just want to make sure as you go, tighten those up back here all the way. So the system is, again, go ahead and put it tight against these, hold your bracket up, snug it up, snug it up, snug it up, and then come back through, tighten, tighten, tighten. And then just do that throughout the whole length of the board. All right, now we got that 16-foot board fastened. Now we need to go ahead and butt this one up correctly. Okay, so to space this correctly, take your spacer, slide it into place, and go ahead and slide your board into the existing hidden fasteners. That looks good. And now, make sure you're spaced correctly still. That looks pretty good. Double check. Yep. All right, and now take your hidden fastener here and make sure we're back all the way. Looks good, and just snug it up. All right, looks good, not super tight. That's what you want for these. And then tighten the one back behind it all the way. All right, and then so on and so forth until you got this whole 8-foot board on, all the way to the wall. All right, and once we get to the end, we need to put 2 screws here. So what I do is pre-drill with an 1/8 inch drill bit first. Okay, and then you take your composite decking screws. So then you put a spacer here to make sure you're spaced correctly. Go ahead and start your screw. And just countersink it into the Trex a little bit, just so it's flush on top. And then remove your spacer. All right, and now that's how you finish the ends of the Trex. So a little tip that's going to help you be quicker: get 2 drivers, one for your decking screws and then the other for your hidden fastener. That way you don't have to switch the ends in and out all the time, and then have a third tool, which is going to be your 1/8 inch drill bit, ready to go at all times, because you use those 3 items frequently. And if you're wondering what these hidden fasteners look like, that's what they look like up close. That end slides into the grooved part of the Trex, and then this end here acts as a spacer. So it's a pretty nice little fastener. They're expensive, to be honest with you, but it gives you a nice looking job when you're done. So those are my tips. Okay, I'm going to get back to putting down decking boards. So what you want to do to make sure your Trex is running true, go ahead and measure from the house up to it and be sure that it's still running straight. So right there we got 100 inches. And then over here, go ahead and get in the middle of the deck somewhere and pull another measurement. And that way, when you get up to the house, that looks good. So that way, when you get up to the house, you have a straight line going. So it's not crooked. Just make sure when you started it, it should have been straight to begin with, but just in case you start running off a little bit, it's always smart to double check. So just a little tip. All right, I ran out of Trex, but I want to show you what you do when you get to the end here. I got to order some more Trex, so it'll be here in like a week. But what you do is, let's say you need half of a piece to finish in a strip here at the end of it. What you do is leave it about 1/4 inch shy, and then put a screw where every joist is, but 1/4 inch from the edge. So that way when you put your siding on, your J-channel is about 1 inch thick. It'll cover up that screw in the back, and that's how you're going to finish up your decking. So if you're wondering what saw I was using to cut the Trex, I'm using this double bevel sliding DeWalt saw, but any brand saw clearly is fine. But make sure you have a finer tooth blade on it for trim. This is a 60 count blade. But if you come over here, make sure you get a stand that has these arms on it, because this stuff's really flimsy, the Trex that is, and these arms will definitely be used to support it. You could always set up a workbench or a sawhorse to handle the end of the Trex, but that's what I'm using, is just this saw. But if you look at this saw, check this out. It has this shadow line. Say using a laser, it uses a shadow. I love it. Here is what the ends ended up looking like. And there is nothing wrong with that. We have a nice expansion gap. It's hard to see in the video, but there's a good 1/4 inch there for expansion. And if you come over here, if you look at our joints, these joints turned out really nice and uniform. Can't complain there. Now I noticed this stuff gets pretty warm when the sun hits it. So all in all, can't complain about it. Like I said, I gotta wait a week to get everything to finish up this section that's left, but I got pretty far on it, cannot complain. All right guys, I gotta go get my girl off the bus, so I gotta run, but I just want to say thanks a lot for watching. Be sure to subscribe and smash that like button. And again, my name's Josh, and I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.